Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual strength. Waking up the worlds physically, mentally, spiritually, and then physically again. Why? To feel better. Objectively. How? Through your only no-nonsense podcast on the Best Feeling Network. This is Pao Gawan. Good morning! Good morning. It is 5:31 a.m. Tuesday, July 27, 2021. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're feeling so great in that godlike body of yours, and as you are preparing to stretch your self-awareness like a muscle today on True Love Tuesday. On True Love Tuesday. I hope you're feeling today, where we discuss how to love like body of yours, and let's turn that off right quick. Echo. We discuss how to love. I hope you always remember to allow all of these words to enter one ear and out the other, everybody. As we are learning and always practicing to stretch our self-awareness like a muscle. I'm your host, Herbie. Good morning, and this is Pao Gawan. I hope you're able to feel so fantastic and so wonderful in that body of yours. What are we here to do? Feel better objectively. So, before we begin, I would like to invite you to take some time to feel so aware in that body of yours, wherever you are. Whether you are kicking that blanket off in the morning, or whether you are preparing yourself some soup at night. Whatever you are doing, wherever thou art, thank you for joining. And as a gift, would you please join me in pretending that there is a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? Well, and to leave your swallowing muscles alone. And to just observe your sense of self. As you again with me, would you pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do this. And to observe your sense of self as this happens. Remember, you don't need to think about breathing, you don't need to think about exhaling or inhaling, but simply pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. Wherever you are, whether you are in the car, or you're pushing a stroller, or maybe you are just chilling there. Maybe you're just sitting there in the lotus position. or crisscross applesauce, or you're sitting in your chair in the living room, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. Remember to allow these words enter one ear and out the other. To allow me to blend into the rest of the symphony of the world that is around you. The world that is the world around you. Let me be one part of that symphony. Never leave that godlike body of yours that you are so fortunate to be inside of. One more time, would you please pretend with me that there's a candle in front of thy lips that you're trying to not put out? And to leave your swallowing muscles alone. As you let this blend into the rest of your experience. And using that superpower of yours, your ability to decide where you place your awareness and to keep your awareness on that body of yours. No matter the sounds outside there, let them splash onto your body like a canvas. Like paint onto a canvas. Aware of the canvas we are. Are you able to feel more grounded? One more time, would you pretend with me that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? And to leave your swallowing muscles alone. And doesn't the entire world feel so much better reflected onto this amazing bodily experience of yours, which we are getting more and more intimate with every morning? And Pal, go on. What are we here today? Today, guys. It's True Love Tuesdays.
When we dance, the journey itself is the point. When we play music, the playing itself is the point. And exactly the same thing is true in meditation. Meditation is the discovery that the point of life is always arrived at in the immediate moment.
Today on True Love Tuesdays, we'll be talking about how to love. Talked about what is love. We talked about what is love. You can see that on some previous episodes. We talked pretty deeply about what is love. We know it's not an emotional thing. Imagine a world where it's not emotional. Why would you want to pretend why would you want to imagine a world where it's not emotional? Isn't emotion here and there? Isn't emotion here one second and then gone the next? Isn't it decided by someone else who's not in your position, who is not in your circumstance, who is in some other circumstance? Aren't emotions defined by what people are going through at the time, mentally, spiritually, physically, things that you can't relate to 100% because you're not that person? So if love is this emotional thing, would it be fleeting all the time? Could we depend on it in the same way that we could depend on emotion? Or is that scarier? How to love. Living in a world where there's no emotion. Imagine a world where we're devoid of emotionalism, the idea of valuing or trying to protect people's states of emotion, as we know that they're always fleeting. As we know on Padawan, right? You and I know, as you and I both know, emotions are always fleeting. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. A world decided by that is not a world that can be had. Today we talk about how to love. We know that emotions in itself is not love, so love is truth without hatred, as you know. So how to love? How should we love? How should we love? And are we going to talk about it in some vapid, transient, thin, shallow way? where we're just going to fill you with nice feelings and not give you any kind of course of action of how to attain this so-called love thing or how to attain this proper use of this so-called love thing. Would we do that to you? No, we would not do that to you. How should we love? Have we thought about that? How should we love? How should we love? How do you love? How to love? Would you say it with me? How should we love? One more time. How should we love? Say it with me. How should we love? How do I love, Herbie? How do we love? How to love? We'll be discussing that right in a few minutes. Would you please pretend with me that there's a candle in front of thy lips that you're trying to not put out this morning? Or this evening, this afternoon, wherever you are. Maybe you're at the beach. You don't mind taking a look around or just hearing around. You can be closing your eyes. Don't mind if you're driving, don't close your eyes. But if you're safe, don't close your eyes. And hear where you are right now. Allow me to blend in with that beautiful symphony that is orchestrated around you. And leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do that. Would you again with me pretend that there is a candle in front of your lips that you are trying to not put out?
Man, are you still sad?
And to leave your swallowing muscles alone.
No, it's okay if you are. Nah, that's all fine. I've just been feeling kind of...
One more time, would you please pretend with me that there is a candle in front of the lips you're trying to not put out? And to leave your swallowing muscles alone. And just observe your sense of self as that happens. What's the relationship with your sense of self? Is it difficult to allow your body to become aware of this idea of pretending that there is a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? Does it make you uncomfortable? Does it make your body move in any such way? Just observe. Don't need to exhale or inhale, don't need to judge the moment, but simply pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips. And all things included that not be involved with that, and whether you're feeling those facial muscles, allowing those eyes to kind of go where they go as you pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. As we soft focus the eyes, as we leave your swallowing muscles alone. You're feeling so good from the inside out, telecommunicatively, magically, through this screen, through this audio, feeling each other, making each other feel good from the inside out. Would you say it with me? How should we love? One more time, how should we love? One more again, how should we love? We'll be right back. Knock, knock. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual strength. Why? You know that we're waking the world up. Mentally, physically, spiritually, then physically again. All over the place. Just all over the place. Just waking each other up. Waking each other up all over the place. Why? To feel good. Better. Objectively.
Gray is all. Like my inside voice has been kind of quiet lately.
How? Well, through your Only No Nonsense podcast brought to you by the Best Feeling Network.
Sounds like you're sad.
My name is Herbie. Good morning. This is Paugo One. I hope you've been able to be feeling the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the times. And what do we mean by that? As in the weight-bearing portion of the spine, which is the front. Although society, oh, we love that society. Oh, that society would tell you or have you think that you place the weight on the back of the spine. Like, place your weight on the back of the... Or when people tell you to sit up straight or place your back against the wall to be measured. It's not uncommon to feel like you want to be placing the weight of your body on the back of the spine, as that's where you feel the most contact, but as we see from the design, as we're always talking about Padawan, with all these misconceptions that we assumed about the human body,
If you mess up, you can get really hurt
we
forever.
find out that you actually want to be placing the weight of the body on the front of the spine, the weight-bearing portion of the spine, and see for yourself and see how it feels from the inside out. See, just observe your sense of self and see how it feels for you as you deliver your weight into these blue lines, as opposed to trying to place it into the back of the spine and then into the tailbone here. You don't want to place your weight into the tailbone should you be sitting, but rather allow your weight to be divided into these rainbow arches right here, into these sit bones, which are part of your pelvis, and allow your legs to float and not conceive the idea of sitting on your legs. As we know here, as you know, your body is so powerful and strong that should you think your body to be designed anyway, it will always do it. So if you think your weight of the body is supposed to be delivered onto these weighty, or if you think that your body is supposed to be placing weight onto these leg structures that exist in your head, right? Like you're in your head, you have all these like ideas of like what an arm is, or like where your leg starts and all this kind of stuff. And should your leg be included of like where you sit down? Well, just observe for yourself. Just see for yourself how it feels from the inside out. Always here to make these self feel good from the inside out. How to love here on True Love Tuesdays. Have we thought about that? What if there was a manual that was like how to love? What would that say? What would that say? Whether you are shaking your bootay and you are brushing your teeth, or you are maybe dropping the kids off at the pool or at the school. Maybe you're having a conversation with the wifey. Maybe you're reading a newspaper, examining your lifey. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whenever you are, doesn't it feel so good to stretch our self-awareness like a muscle? Wherever you are, have we thought about that? What if there was like a book that said how to love? What would be inside there? What would be inside that book? What would it say? Would it say to buy things for him or her? Would it say to be such and such amounts of physical Would it say to spend such and such amounts of money? Would it say to sacrifice? As we get a little older, we notice that at first we saw love as such a physical thing, right? As you're a child, you see things very face value. As a child, you're not seeing the deeper meaning behind things. Love might be a cracker, right? Love might be a piece of chocolate that someone gives you. Love might be just a hug. Love could be as simple as a physical object as a child, right? Love could be as simple as spending more money on a meal on you than maybe somebody else. Maybe that's how we gauged love as a child. Because we're not thinking about meaning as children as much, right? Our meaning is very face value. As humans, we naturally gain the natural affinity to think about meaning and establishing all this meaning, but we gain that as a little bit older, right? As a child, we have like all these adolescent views of the world, which we all have and share in common. They don't ever really leave us, really, right? Part of our nature. There's some part of us that sees the world very face value. Something beautiful about that. But when it comes to love, our ideas evolve over time, right? Our idea of love evolves over time, as does our idea of most things, right? Over time. As we get older, our ideas of love become less and less tangible, but less and less physical, as we see the works behind what makes those physical things available to be more part of the loving process. As we ourselves also participate more in love, as we ourselves on the inside, on our inside world, as we ourselves consciously, willingly, through free will, participate in the giving of more love, we also understand more about love. We understand more about what we want from it. We understand more of what it can offer. We understand more about its limits. We understand more about what it can do for us. We understand more about what we cannot do and still provide love. We learn all these things about love, not just by receiving it, but by also putting it out, right? There's this two-way street. There's this big two-way street for us to learn about love. As we ourselves participate in it, we also expect some amount of mutuality in other people. Like, hey, if you also love, then you must also do it in the same way that I do. There's a little bit of that in life, right? There's a little bit of this idea that love is universal. There's a little bit of this idea that what I view as love, well, if you love, then you should also do it in the same way that I do. Why is that? Because how do we know love but from the inside out? What do we know but from the inside out? What do we really know but from the inside out? From the inside out. Isn't that why we never talk about this word love? Because the only way you can know it is from the inside out, so would it not just be judging someone's entire world to tell them what love is, to try to define love, as you can only really know it from the inside out, right? From what you've experienced, you define as love. How do you learn about love but from what you experience? So not only what you receive, but also how you give love, right? How do you give love also alerts you and reminds you what you believe about love. As your style of love teaches you what love is and how you give it. How you decide to give love defines for you what love is. So we go and expect other people. We end up expecting other people to do the same thing for us, the same way that we would do for them, because that's how we viewed love. We viewed love as this thing that we elicited certain emotional responses from us. So whatever did that for us, well, we assume that's got to be love for everybody. So, well, that's what we want to do for everybody. That's got to be love. Projecting my idea of how I felt and what got me that feeling onto other people. That's got to be love. So if I want to love somebody, if I want to be romantic with somebody, I have to make them feel the way that I feel when I associate with love. Or else I don't love them by my own definition, right? If we're defining love as this emotional thing, well, we only know love from the inside out, from what we feel. Because what is love unless we feel it? Aren't there wars fought over this word? Isn't it so powerful? So don't we learn love only from the inside out? Don't we learn love only from the inside out? Don't we learn love from only how we feel about love, from what we get about it, from our experience with it? Isn't that the only way we can possibly know this enigma, this cloud, this vague idea of love? Isn't that the only way? Is through our only experience? So if we define love as this emotional thing, because love is this personal thing that we all have connection with, we all have a personal relationship with this love thing. So if we define love as this emotional thing, and isn't it hard to give other people love, because love has to match that emotional thing that you also received? Well, how do you give that to somebody? How do you know if you're giving that to somebody? This feeling that you had when you were in the 4th grade and someone gave you that letter in the 4th grade and it like made your heart light up and you're like, wow, that's love, and that defined love for the rest of your life. How do you give that feeling? That's such a 3D experience feeling, because like there's all this context of like your whole life, of everything. Your entire life. This is our entire context that made that entire moment coalesce, and it just meant that much to you at that moment. If that's what love is, if love is this emotional thing, well, how do you give that to people? How do you make sure that they even received it that way? It's impossible. You can't go into their minds. You're not a mind reader. You're not a soul reader like that. You can't go into their brain and then see if their heart and soul felt it the way that you felt that 3D experience when in that moment when you're in that specific place and time, and that moment happened to you, you got that feeling, that 3D feeling that you had. That's a full body experience that's just impossible to describe. People spend lifetimes trying to describe it using music. How do you less about how do you experience, but how do you confirm that other people are experiencing that as well? So if you were trying to have confidence that you were giving love, if we're conversing about whether or not you were loving, if we're conversing about whether or not you are loving, how can you confirm it if it's through this feeling? If it's through this idea of you have to match this feeling that I had? If we define love as this emotion, how do you tell if other people are really feeling that emotion? How do you confirm that they're understanding? How could you ever know if they're really in that area? If you're ever really truly loving, and that's the case. That's the case. If it's the case that you see love as this feeling thing, how could you ever know if you were loving or being loved? As feelings are always this moving target thing, right? If feelings are this emotion thing, how could you know if you're ever being loving? Because isn't love this 3D experience? So if we only know love from what we feel and how in our own relationship with this love, if that's our only way of knowing love, is our own relationship with this love in our lifetimes, right? Because we've developed this relationship with love, the idea of love, the word love, how it makes us feel, how we get it, How do we keep it? How do we lose it? What does it feel like? What does it feel like to not have it anymore? Or to never have halved it? Halved it? What does it feel like to not have it? So we have this relationship with love. How it makes us feel and all those kinds of things. What we think about it. And how do we know about those things? Because of our own experiences, right? Our own lived experiences, our own relationship with this love. So that's how we end up defining it. But if we are to define it, just regardless, we have this relationship, of course we do. But if we are to define it using emotions as a feeling, this feeling that how do we know these feelings? Only from the inside out, right? That's the only way we really know feelings is from the inside out. You'll know when you're older is what they say, right? You had to be there is what they say, right? For jokes. Feelings are this inside out 3D experience that are just incalculably gigantic as they fill your entire body, right? Feelings. And yet you're trying to describe that and have more of it in the world and say that you are giving more of that to a person? Well, if it's feelings, how could you ever, if you're defining love as feelings and emotions, well, how can we ever confirm that you're being loving? For your own sanity. For your loved one's sanity, for the world's sanity, for the safety of your loved ones, the safety of your love. We define love by this feeling, these 3D feelings that are so hard to describe to anybody else but you, as you are the one at this focal point of this feeling. It's coming from within you, affecting you from this 3D direction from within you. Taking into account meaning of time, language, and where you are at and how you're feeling, your mental state, physical state. All contribute to being this feeling. So when you experienced love and you learned what your idea of love it was at that time, if we're defining it by that feeling, how could you ever guarantee, how could you ever confirm that you are receiving that feeling again? As it is this gigantic feeling, it's just so hard to describe, right? And how do you confirm that you are being loving for other people? How can you tell that that's the feeling that they're feeling, that feeling that you felt once at that one specific time in space and time, where your body was, at that age you were, with the people you were at? That specific feeling, you think, you define that's love? How are you going to confirm that you're giving that to other people? Right? How would you know you were loving? What can you really know? Isn't it true that you can only know things through yourself? How do we know love? Through our relationship with our experiences of it. We can hear it our whole lives, but to know it is to experience it, right? Don't we only know love through experience? Don't we only know love through our 3D experience of our lives? Your super crazy brain, your amazing brain, your amazing body, your amazing brain-like body creature, godlike body creature of yours, right? That vessel that you live in, always establishing meaning, always creating more metaphors, always creating relationships in your brain between emotions in the world and things in the world and people and objects and objects. Your brain's whoosh. Every time you read sentences, you're creating new meaning in your head. So that amazing body of yours, isn't it true that you can only learn things through that experience? Everything else, you can hear about it, but don't you have to experience things to know it? Isn't that true? Isn't what you know about love only through what you've experienced? For better or for worse. Isn't that true? Isn't that we spend our whole lives looking for more of it? Would you pretend with me that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? To leave your swallowing muscles alone. 2 more times. Would you pretend with me that there's a candle in front of your lips you're trying to not put out? To leave your swallowing muscles alone. 1 more time. Would you pretend with me that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? I want to leave your swallowing muscles alone. On your only podcast in 3D. Would you ask yourself with me? Don't we learn everything through experience?
Yes, Daddy.
Don't we learn everything through experience? Isn't what we know about love only through what we experience about our relationship with it? Say it with me. Don't we only learn through experience? Especially when it comes to things about love. Don't we only know what we experience about love? Pretend that there's a candle. Remember, don't blow that out and leave your swallowing muscles alone. Don't we only know about love what we experience? Be right back. Pal, go on. So, our relationship with love as human beings is one that's been growing, is one that's been ever changing, is one that's been ever evolving, just like us. Started off physical, and we're starting to get closer and closer to a way we can take it with us wherever we go. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual strength. Waking the worlds up physically, mentally, spiritually, and then physically again. Why? To feel better objectively. How? The power go on. Your only no nonsense podcast brought to you through the Best Feeling Network with your host Herbie. Hey, you want to feel cool? You want to feel good? Check out this magic trick. Pretend with me that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone. You don't need to think about like exhaling or inhaling or anything like that. Just pretend with me that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And that you want to leave your swallowing muscles alone, baby, as you do that. And just see how your sense of self feels. Just observe. Just observe how your sense of self feels as you do that. How to love. Here on Pal Go On True Love Tuesdays. Don't we only know love through experience? All these abstract ideas, love, pride, humility, wisdom. Don't we only know these things through experience? We can hear about them, but don't you only really know them from being in the focal point, in the center point of that experience? Being at the epicenter, as they might call it, of that experience, right at the focal point, where it emerges from within you. From moments in which pride and humility and love all come out from within you, emerge from within you. In the moments in which they emerge within you, and you catch them, you notice them, you observe them as you observe your sense of self. Isn't it true that you only know them through experience? These abstract ideas about like human nature. Love. And know when it hits you, right? So if it's true that it only happens within you, and we know, as you know, that you can only affect things that are within you anyway. You can only affect things that are within your grasp. You can only affect things within your body. Even when you go to grab a glass of water, you are affecting your body and hoping to move your body in a way that will grab this glass of water and move that water to your mouth, and you can drink that water. Hopefully, ideally, that's how it works. Sometimes you might experience, depending on your situation, condition, health conditions, age, you might experience muscle failure, in which now you cannot affect the glass in the way you want. And as much as you want to affect the glass, you can only affect your body first and foremost. Should you not be able to affect your body even enough to speak, to say that you want that glass, how would you ever get that glass if your body was unable to get it to you? Let's say you need the help of somebody. So can't we only affect ourselves? Don't we only know ourselves? We know the world through ourselves, using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. Isn't that true? How do we know anything but through how do we do anything but through our own body? How do we know anything but through our own experience? How do we know love? Well, you feel it, right? It's a feeling, your own body. You can only affect yourself.
You take a few more pills to help.
No matter how hard you try, you can try to affect, let's say, somebody else. But don't we know that you can only affect how they're, you can only lead a horse to the water. You cannot force a horse to drink the water. You can only affect yourself. You can only know the world through yourself. Yourself. You can command the door to open and then go over to the door and open the door. So you did effectively close that door, but did you not first command your body to Get out of that bed, move over to the door. You can only affect yourself. But Herbie, I wrote this thesis, and now my thesis is on the internet, and the internet is allowing people to view this thesis, and people are learning so many things. Look, I've affected so many people. Yes, this is true, but you affected yourself in order to discipline yourself, in order to create that work that is now being circulated. Didn't you first affect yourself? Yes, you affected other people, but how? Through affecting yourself. The discipline that you had to write that paper, to write that thesis, to think those thoughts, to think those things, to get it out to the masses, to put it on the internet. Didn't you affect yourself to do that? Didn't you affect yourself to not do those other things, to not get distracted? Now, why does this matter? Why does it matter when we say that we only know the life that we know? We only know everything that we know through experience. When it comes to how to love, we only know love through experience. So how do we love? Well, you establish what love is, and you give more of it. But we only know love through our own experiences. So should we define love as an emotional thing? How is it ever possible to give more love to those loved ones that you want, that you're afraid of losing? Or that you might want to not lose? Maybe there's advantageous to keep around. In many ways, socially is one. Mentally, spiritually. How are you gonna keep them around? You want to spread more love, right? Well, what do we know love as? Well, what we experience, right? How should we love? Spread more love. Well, how do we define love? Well, what we've experienced our own life. We've defined that. But thankfully, just like new parts of your identity that you learn to integrate into yourself, or don't like about yourself, but just like other parts of your identity that you learn to integrate into yourself, thankfully, we are evolving and ever-progressing creatures. We are works in progress. We are places in time. We are works in progress. And our mentality was designed to evolve our ideas of what love is. Just the same way that your music taste might evolve. Just the same way that your taste for food might evolve. Just the same way that your taste for drinks might evolve. The same way your taste might for shows, for people, for places, for things might evolve. Your idea of love evolves. Why? To fit who you are more. As you are ever changing, but ever changing what? According to a design. Right? As in a design that was placed within here, within you. Your body and its ability to even feel empathy, to laugh. How's that all possible? To smile, to create all these relationships, do all these amazing things, you crazy mover, you. How's it possible? There's this part of you that you have a relationship with that is so strong. You crazy 3D experience body of yours. And you want to give more love to other people. But that love is just a feeling, right? If that's how we're defining it. But luckily for us, our ability to stretch our awareness and our ability to change our ideas of definition, as we see in the world right now, constantly being abused, right? But we have this ability to change our definition of what we believe these words to be. And should we see love as not this emotionalism thing, doesn't that change the way that we love? Doesn't that change the way how we should love? Because if our idea of love is this emotion thing, this place and time thing, this thing that I felt this one time, I'm going to try to give that to you. How is that possible? How are you going to recreate that 3D experience for them and guarantee that you can do that for them from the inside out? But should we shift our perspective a little bit? Or does that not shift the way things look a little bit? What if you lived in a world? What if we lived in a world? I live in a world where emotionalism is not the priority. It happens. Life happens. Emotionalism is not the priority, though. Because that would assume that the nature of the world is that there are things that are just making you sad. And the best place to be is just to not be sad. Is that there's just sadness and you want to just not be sad. But that's not the nature of the world. The nature of the world is that it's in constant flux. Sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're happy. It's not always just about trying to get on that one side of it. Because there are times where to get more happy, you need to be sad for now. And we know that. I live in a world where this emotionalism thing happens, but as we are pretending that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone. We live in a world where emotionalism is this priority thing, but should we see love as the truth without hatred? The ability to regulate? We would see that love is always from the inside out. You can only affect yourself, right? You can only affect yourself, as in, you are in control of pretending that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. You want to leave your swallowing muscles alone. So we only know love through how we experience it. So, we can only affect ourselves. So this love thing must be in this inside realm. Right? This love thing, as we can only affect our own bodies, we can only affect ourselves. We know this love thing through our experience, through what we've experienced. And we want to give more love to other people, but we can only affect ourselves. What a dilemma. We have this great 3D experience of ours that we want to give to the outside world, but we can never confirm that we're even doing it. We won't be satisfied until we know that we've given it to others. We love the world so much. We love our lives so much. We love things so much, right? We want to give it to the rest of the world, and we won't be satisfied till that happens. But there's a dilemma. It's this great 3D experience, but we can only see and affect ourselves. So how do we even know? We can't rest till we're done giving the world this feeling. Well, how do we know that they're getting it? Since we can only affect ourselves. We can only affect ourselves, and that's just the truth of it, the sad truth of it. You can only affect yourself. You cannot go in someone else's heart and force them to love or feel a feeling of love. You can only affect yourself. But we're trying to give this feeling from the inside out to the rest of the world. How? That's quite a dilemma. We can only affect ourselves. So love must be in this realm, right? In this inside realm, or this only affecting yourself realm. As in, you can choose to pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips, or you can choose not to. That's up to you. That's your inside realm. So love must be in this realm though, right? Because that's the only realm you can control. You cannot go outside of your body and do something else. Money, that's even outside of your control, right? You can control yourself to get money. You can control yourself to get the word out there. You can control yourself to have discipline, to be able to get a job, to be able to get the money, to provide this idea of love. But wasn't the love always from the within? As in, wasn't the love always you getting yourself out of bed, doing all those great things, choosing to pretend there's a candle in front of your lips, as opposed to doing something else, so that you can relax? Love must be in this realm. Isn't love this realm of this inside world of you against yourself, your laziness, of you being tempted to do other things that would not attain this thing that would help you provide love to these people? So isn't love only in this inside realm, as that's the only thing we can affect, right? How to love? Shouldn't you love yourself? Isn't take care of number one not just a cliche? But isn't that how to be loving itself, as you cannot do anything else? You focus your idea and attention on trying to force someone else to feel love. Isn't that a waste of time, as you can only control yourself? As you are trying to force someone else to feel love, aren't you crippling your own body? Aren't you abandoning your own body? And isn't that body needed to provide more love to these people that you care about in the future? Isn't that body needed? Don't you need to protect that body? Don't you need to make sure this body lasts so you can continue to provide love to those people you care about? So you could feel love. But isn't that how to be loving itself, is taking care of number one? Is that a cliche, or is that actually how to be loving in and of itself? As there's nothing else you can do but affect number one. So if you want number one to help other people, shouldn't we be oiling up number one? Shouldn't we be cleaning up number one? Shouldn't we be maintaining number one? Shouldn't we be making sure that number one is amazing and safe and prepared to move at all times and being awesome? Shouldn't you make sure that number one is taken care of? Why? Why can't we sacrifice the number one and just latch on to these other people for love? For love! Why can't you sacrifice yourself for love? We only know love through what we felt, and we've seen people sacrifice for us. We've seen people do things for us that look like very selfless, like they put themselves on the line. They do everything for these people, right? Our mama's told, I'll do everything for you. Life or death. I'll die for you. I'll do everything for you. I'll sacrifice for you. Isn't that the way that we've seen through love? Because of this emotionalism thing, as we know that emotionalism always has to do, like especially anger, always has to do with life or death, right? Isn't it true that love has always been foisted onto us throughout life as this thing that's like, that is like, I'll lay it all on line for you. The more that I sacrifice, the more that I don't have for the sake of your love, well, we should respect that. Isn't that how to love? Is to put your needs aside for someone else, right? Isn't that how to love? Is to sacrifice. Isn't that how to love? Is to at times put yourself in situations that are less than for the sake of love, for this emotion, right? I have some sometimes, you have some sometimes, give and take sometimes. Isn't that how we see love? As this, I'll put it all on the line for you kind of thing. Don't we see, isn't society giving us this idea of this love thing as you take care of them before yourself? You depend on each other. I can't live without you. But isn't taking care of number one the only real way to be loving? As anything else is dependency. As anything else is dependency, as we can only affect ourselves. You can only affect yourself. So should you want to be loving for somebody else, if you yourself have not been taken care of, how can you take care of other people? Is that not just blackmail? Is that not just allowing somebody to feel your love? But possibly you expecting that love back. And is that real love? If you are pouring not from a full glass, but choosing to sacrifice your glass, or choosing to sacrifice your amount of water so that they may fill their water more than yours, is that true love? To sacrifice all of yourself for this person, is that true love? Is that how we should love? To just sacrifice for other people? Is that real love? To say, I gave it all for you. To put it in their hands, to put your survival in their hands. Is that real love? To take care of them first before yourself? Is that real love? To take care of other people first. Is that real love? Or is that a plea to be taken care of? Is that real love, or is that a plea to be taken care of? As we know, love is not free unless, or as we know, love is not love at all unless it's free. Love is not love at all unless free. So if you are backed up against the wall emotionally, physically, financially in the world, and you need other people to survive, is that love when you finally give it to them, or is that a need? Was that a need? Was that because you were backed up against the wall by the world? Is that real love? We know what love is from the inside out, from what we've learned, what we've learned to deny, what we've learned to accept. And there's something about this acceptance thing that has so much to do with love. This free will has so much to do with love. And so, if you are backed up against the wall by the world, financially, emotionally, do you have free will to act in the ways that you would want to? Do you have free will to act in the ways that you would want to when you're backed up against the wall by the world, emotionally, spiritually, financially, physically, individually, collectively, wherever you are, whenever thou art, when you are backed up against the wall, do you have free will? When you are not when you have not taken care of yourself, when you're not safe in your own body, when you are not safe in your own experience, when you have not cultivated a life in which you are safe for yourself, can you love anything? Or do you just need something to survive? Isn't love, as we know it from the inside out, from the way that we love other things, don't we know that love has to be a mutual accepted thing? And can you really accept anything when you're forced to due to circumstance? We know from ourselves that you need to accept love. It has to be a mutual thing. You have to be able to accept it. You have to have the free will to give it. You have to have the free will to accept it. We know that from the inside out, that that's what love is about, all this acceptance stuff. This free will stuff. We know there's like a thing about love and free will. So do you really have the free will to choose love? When you yourself don't feel taken care of by yourself, can you really love anything? Or are you just needing it? Can you really choose love when you yourself have not taken care of yourself first? When you don't feel satisfied in your own life, in your own self, can you love anything? Or are you just needing? As we know that from the inside out, we know that from our experience, that's how love is. It needs to be chosen. And so when you are needing, when you don't feel satisfied in and of yourself, can you choose anything? Or are you just filling a gap? We need to love ourselves to love other people. I'll be right back.
Man, are you still sad? No, it's okay if you are. Nah, that's all fine. I've just been feeling kind of gray is all. Like my inside voice has been kind of quiet lately. Not a lot of instructions forthcoming, you know? Yeah, well, sounds like you're sad.
See, this is a good example. This is a good example of like why love sucks right now. Because like, look, this is a song on like YouTube. It's called like, It's Okay to Be Sad. The song itself is good. The song itself is fine. The beat's fine. It's all good. It's all good. But it's on a playlist that I brought up called Lo-Fi Romance, right? The fact that we view romance and love itself as such an emotional thing allows room for all this like crazy sad stuff to be involved with like love that's not supposed to be sad. But we associate feelings and emotionalism with love. The problem with defining love as feelings is that you will not have it all the time. It's chaotic. The problem with doing that is that once you define love as this emotionalism thing, then you necessarily will not have it all the time. There will be moments in which you're pining for it and you will feel sad because emotions happen, but they are not, there's no state, there's no emotion in life that you can stay in a state of. You cannot forever perpetually be sad. Or you can, yeah, that's the good thing. You can never perpetually be sad. You can never perpetually be happy. And those are good things because they allow us to balance ourselves. But the fact that you can never be happy all the time means that there is this looming feeling of whenever you're happy, that one day, at some point in time, whenever this ends, you will then be sad again. There's this looming feeling. And is that happiness? Sounds like you're sad. Shut up. Get out of here. We're not here to be sad. We're here to pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And then we are here to leave your swallowing muscles alone. Again, we are here to pretend that there is a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And we are here to leave your swallowing muscles alone. And just observe your sense of self and how that feels. Indeed, it's not an emotional thing, but it just appears that the way to love others is to love the self, and to love the self is to not judge the self, but improve the relationship with the self. The only way to love the ones you love is to be secure in who you are. The only way to love your loved ones is for you to not need them, is to be okay without them. The only way for you to love your loved ones is for you to feel safe to be yourself. The only way to love your loved ones is to be safe without them. Like, children can't really love because you gotta know, you gotta experience love. Plenty of it. And you have to have this long relationship with it. Denial of it, acceptance of it, agreement of it, all these things that take time, right? Feel safe within yourself. Feel safe within yourself, or whatever you're doing is not love. Feel safe within yourself. Need nothing. But what you're doing is not love. From the inside out. To love on True Love Tuesdays. You can only affect yourself, and we only know love from the inside out anyway. So the only thing we can do, how can we love, is to take care of number one first. Because love must be in this realm. of affecting yourself, right? Because you can only affect yourself. So how do we affect ourselves? We take care of ourselves. We discipline ourselves. We make sure that we're there, that we're able to be rested and have our energy to do those things. We make sure that we are feeling so good from the inside out. So whatever comes out is actually love, not dependency. For joining us. Good morning for another episode. Thank you for joining us for another episode of How Go On. It is Tuesday, July 27, 2021. It is Tuesday, July 27th, 2021. True Love Tuesdays. I hope you were able to feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine. And, of course, into the rainbow arches. Like all of the times. And feel the front of the shins. Don't make us say it again. And then remembering that you do not sit on your legs. As you are feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. I'm your host, Herbie. Have a kick-ass day, guys. This is Pow Go On. We'll see you tomorrow for Warfare Wednesday. Please pretend with me that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. One more time. We'll see you tomorrow, but please for now, pretend with me that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. I'm gonna leave your swallowing muscles alone. One more time, would you pretend with me that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? And to leave your swallowing muscles alone. This has been Pow Go On, feeling so good from the inside out, using our sense of self. See you tomorrow. This is Pow Go On.